The test is almost complete. Have you spoken truth? Come here. Kneel. Put your hand in the box. I hold at your neck the Gom Jabbar, the high-handed enemy. Don't pull away or you will die. Great plots are afoot in the Imperium, and the currents of intrigue run deeply. Arrakis is the key, and the Fremen are missing. You will go to Arrakis as our agent, prisoner. You have one task. Find the Fremen. Wake the sleeper. Everything depends on this. Do you understand?
So, growing up in the 1980s, obviously I was a big fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, all that kind of stuff. Dune never really caught my attention. I mean, it was always on at Christmas. There's always this big thing about how Sting was in the film. And it looks a bit weird, like a very weird version of like Star Wars or something like that. But it's only so recently, the last couple of years, I've actually taken more interest in Dune. I saw the first remake film a few years ago and really enjoyed it. And loved the visuals, loved the whole idea. I'm not a big reader, so I never read the books. But yeah, recently watched the second film and then saw that Funcom were making an MMO based on the Dune universe. So in the group of online players who I hang around with, it's a bit of a running joke. We're always waiting for the next big MMO. We're all ex-MMO players. We all played Warcraft, we all played Guild Wars 2, Wildstar, all the big MMOs, and yeah, we're just kind of waiting for this next big MMO. So when this came along, I initially was interested, and then when I heard Funcom was doing like a 5-day early access, if you had to pay more, it really put me off because the end game was told to be PvP, and I just foresaw this situation where people with 5 days head start who played the beta would just know exactly what they're doing and just be waiting for players to just gank them and take all the stuff. So I initially wasn't going to play it. And then I think Arc Raiders didn't actually come out on early access, which everyone thought it would. So I had some spare time. So yeah, I jumped in. So quite a few years ago, Funcom brought out a game called Age of Conan. And me and a few friends, we had an absolute blast for about 5 days. And then the game just came crashing down in the second half. There was just like no content and everything was broken. And I think there was a really bad memory bug as well from memory. But yeah, it basically wasn't finished and had lots of problems. So this is the game I've played now since then from Funcom, and I have to say overall they've done an absolutely spectacular job. This game is fantastic. They've taken the Dune universe from both the old film, the new films, and also the books, and they've really infused everything that's in them different medias into this game. From the look, from the characters, from the devices you use to survive, from the creatures on Arrakis, the weather, the whole thing is just an absolute triumph in terms of like Dune lore and how it all looks and comes together. So the game opens with a fairly decent character creation sequence. You choose from different hairstyles, different skin tones, tattoos, that kind of thing. You get the usual fun with Funcom's sliders, although no dick sliders this time around apparently. So yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, I was able to create a character that I liked, and we hit the start button and off we went. The introduction to the game is pretty damn good. You basically get saved from a prison ship. You're sent in as like a spy, and your job is to find the Fremen, and that's basically all you know. You wake up, you kind of like get taught the first basic skills about water, about how you're constantly under the heat of the planet. Sunlight, direct sunlight is bad, very bad, and so yeah, you are taken through these different lessons and stuff, and yeah, it's a great opening to the game. There's a few decent cutscenes as well, and then once you finish that sequence, you are dropped into the main game, and you're set loose on Arrakis. So even if you've not read the books or watched the films, it will become immediately apparent that Arrakis is not known for its water sports. This is a very dry, arid place to live, and water is very hard to find. So obviously Funcom, they wanted to fuse this idea into the game, and rightly so. So water is one of the main resources that you need to manage. Now initially you just need water to survive. So you get a gauge that's like able to be filled, like I think it's 1/3 by like getting the dew off the plants around you, the like low level shrubs, and then eventually you start to be able to develop new technology. So once you get a base, you can create like a blood filtration system, and then you go around and you can like literally drain blood from your fallen enemies and take it back to your base and purify it into water. So basically you've got like an army of vampires every night descending on Arrakis, just getting all this blood and then processing it into water. Pretty early on you're given the ability to craft what's called a still suit. This is like a Fremen designed suit that keeps your body's moisture, like tears and sweat, inside your suit and then filters it back into your system so you can drink it. It's pretty cool. They've put it in the game and it works really well. But past this initial need for water for your own personal health, you also eventually start to need water for a more industrial side of the game, and that's crafting and grinding ore and processing ore into ingots. And so this is where the crafting and the base building starts. You have to put sticks down and start to actually leave your mark on Arrakis. Now, this isn't Funcom's first rodeo. They've done this kind of thing before. They've built these games before, and the base building is fantastic. It's quite simple to use. You've got different tiers of items. You put down the foundations, build the walls, everything clicks together nicely. I've got no complaints with the base building whatsoever. I love it. Bases, by the very nature of where you are and the style of the game and the lore, they're never going to be like really sexy. Like at first you are basically building like prefabricated concrete blocks, and that's what they look like. Eventually in the game you get to unlock new sets of different materials, and you can make them look pretty good. In fact, there's been some pretty excellent bases on my server, so hats off to them people. But yeah, pretty much the first base is going to be a little box just to put the first basic stuff in. And then once you've finished that, you've got to get across the gap. You pack all your stuff into your first bike, and you've got to get across the gap before the worms eat you. And it's a pretty tense couple of minutes, because if the worms get you on this game, well, I'll come into that in the next section. So the killer heat and the planet-sized storms, they're just for fun. The essence of fear on Dune comes from Shadhalud, an ancient species of gargantuan worms that move through the loose sand on the planet's surface. Think Tremors with less bacon and more worms the size of the Titanic. Those who wish to live on Arrakis learn quickly that solid rock is your friend, and making noise on the open sand will always end up with a gaping maw of teeth. The worms on Dune Awakening have these like visual cues from both the 1984 film and also the more modern films, depending on whereabouts you are in the game. Here we go. Come on, baby. Oh. Oh. Got a breach. Shit. He's looking at me. Made it. Oh. Whew. As with the films, they are just like an awe-inspiring sight. The first time a worm comes and breaches out the sand and then chases you, your heart is pounding, and it's one of the most exciting moments I've had in a game for years. It's fantastic, and they've really nailed the mechanic. You can actually see the worms shifting above the sand, and yeah, it just really is one of the best mechanics in the game. And they keep leaving things out on the open sand, like crashed ships or like rare resources like the spice sand or the flower sand, and it entices you out onto the sand, and then you've only got a limited amount of time, and it's just a case of chicken. How long are you going to wait before this red line starts like going crazy on the bottom, and you know you've got like a mere like few seconds before you're just taken off the game and devoured. And as many of you may have already heard about the game, if a worm gets you, that's it. All your gear, all your items, everything is gone, and you have to start again. So yeah, pretty terrifying stuff for an MMO player. So aside from the worms, Funcom had to nail another aspect of the Dune universe, and that is the vehicles. And they absolutely have. The vehicles in this game are one of my favourite parts of the experience. Right from the first tracked bike that you get when you first get into the game, the way the tracks carve into the sand, the way that they move over the terrain, each individual contour of the sand acts on the suspension, and yeah, it really is well done. MMOs are particularly hard in this respect to get things like that right, to get a vehicle, a moving thing to sync with the environment, especially for other players who are watching, because the game has to sync that with everybody who is watching that vehicle. And they seem to have really nailed it. They've done a great job. As you move from the bike, you then move onto like a large buggy, which can be retrofitted with all kinds of different things. You've got different extra seats. You've got a cutter array on top to gather resources with, and each individual part gains like it needs to be maintained and worked on, can be replaced if it gets damaged, and the whole vehicle system is fantastic. Obviously, the creme de la creme of vehicles is the ornithopters. Everyone in the game, from the second I got in until the second I stopped playing, people wanted to get ornithopters, and the bigger version, and then the Mark V, and then the assault ornithopter, and then eventually you'll get these massive landers that drop off the spice gatherers that act on their own, the big ones that are in the films. So the star that Arrakis orbits around is called Canopus, and that, when it rises from the horizon, you want to make sure that you're in cover, basically, or in a vehicle, or in your base. So one of the main survival mechanics in this game, apart from water, is the direct sunlight. If you spend too long in it, your gauge goes red, and you start to dehydrate and lose water. And obviously, you know where that's going to head. So they've got this really good system for light in the game. Basically, the game casts shadows in real time. So any distant hills will cast shadows right across the desert, which actually will shelter you. And it's a good place to cross. So you're literally tracking the shadows as you're crossing the desert. And then once the game sun gets right above you, obviously it's harder to hide because there's less shadows in the midday. So then you want to find your base or a cave or something like that, or be in a vehicle. I think light as well in general just needs a special mention because it is very well done in the game. They've done an excellent job of making all the environmental effects seem so much more realistic by a really nice application of how light works. So for example, if you're walking towards a cave entrance in the daytime, just as you're approaching the cave entrance, you get this amazing halo where the edge of the rock is all red. And in fact, if you go outside in the morning just before the sun rises, you can see this the light coming from the distant horizon hitting the rock above you, and all the rocks suddenly become this bright, vivid red. And just standing there watching the sun come up is a really interesting moment in the game. Yeah, very well done. Love it.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm just watching the worm eating this. It's just eating the base. It's near my base actually. I wish that person hadn't built that there.
Mine is right next here.
Yeah.
Is that the person coming back?
Or
is
know.
That
there's somebody outside their base. Is that you outside their base?
No. I think it's that's the owner.
I'm gonna shout down to mate, your base is getting attacked by the worms. You definitely need to move it as soon as you can because if that worm comes back, it's going to destroy your base. So I think it's a fair question to ask. Is Dune Awakening actually an MMO? I think on paper, yes it is. It's got all the key components. You can see other players, you can interact with them, you can join a group, you can join a guild, you can run around with people and do quests. It's got all the key components of an MMO. And people are out in the world, they're building their bases, and yeah, it looks like a bunch of grey cardboard boxes on the horizon, but that is what the game is. So yeah, it is an MMO, but also I've played this entire game single player. I've played a few groups with a few friends, but I didn't need to. None of the areas, none of the test chambers, none of the quests, I provided any challenge that made me want to group up with people. Because, I just didn't need to. And there are not really any group mechanics as such, like there were in, say, Lord of the Rings Online, where you can do special moves together. There's none of that. It is literally just there is somebody else with you, killing the mobs with you, and that's it. So, two words that every MMO developer fears is endgame. Endgame has always been a problem, apart from the odd MMO like Warcraft, which seemed to nail it pretty well. And this game has got virtually no endgame whatsoever. They've gone for a very cheap man's endgame, if you will. They've gone for, here's a big space at the end of the game. Everyone goes into the space, and we have PvP. There are resources in there that you need to complete Tier 6, and to get them, you're going to have to fight each other. Now, obviously, people who love PvP, who live for PvP and run around in gangs and beat people up and steal their stuff, they love this for like 2 weeks. And then Funcom have come in with a patch, and they're now making certain sections of the end game, the deep desert, they're turning that into a PvE area. Now, me and my friend have been there today and been looking around, and many of the areas that are PvE just don't have enough resources to like legitimately feed an end game player. So you still kind of have to go into the PvP areas, and we have been doing today, and today we got away with it, but yesterday my friend lost his ornithopter and everything because he got ganked by a PvP player. Now, there is no solution to this really. You can't please everybody, you just can't, and anyone who tries is going to fail miserably. I think taking the end game area for what it is and splitting it into half PvE, half PvP is a pretty fair way of doing it. Like I've already mentioned, to take players who have just been doing PvE and enjoying themselves and then throwing them into a PvP situation, it's never going to work. Lots of them have already left, and now because the PvP area has been shrunk, now a lot of the PvP players have left. So you've kind of ended up with the worst of both situations. Whether them players come back later, I don't know. But given the absolute lack of endgame content, there is literally nothing. Now, if I had all my tier 6 gear now, I had the best base in the game, I had all the equipment, all the vehicles, and I was sat in my base right now, I can't think of any other content in the game that I could go and say, right, this was worth my grinding for all that content, and now I'm going to go and use that gear to do X, Y, and Z. There is no X, Y, and Z. There is no in-game dungeons. There is nowhere for me to use that content. And so that to me is endgame. That to me is, I've played the game. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time, my 167 hours I think it is. And yeah, it's time to move on. Now I know Funcom are bringing out content in the future. They've already got plans for expansion passes and seasonal content and smaller free updates as well, I believe. So I will definitely come back to play the game when there's more content. Maybe a year, maybe 2. Wait for them to get like quite a lot of content in place, and then start a new character and go through it all again. Because I love this game. I really have. Now, the other problem with the game is that for some reason we are now getting bugs and problems and server issues. To be fair, the game launched in a flawless launch. It was amazing. I've never seen anything like it. The game switched on, all the servers were on, there was no lag, there was no queues, everyone created the characters, and we were in playing. Like absolutely, A star for the launch, no problem at all. But in the last few days, the servers have started to get problems. Now there was a duping issue where players were duping items and creating melange out of nowhere. I think it was like a bug they exploited with the ornithopters. So Funcom have tried to fix that, and now players are getting items disappearing. Now, yesterday I had a full buggy full of items disappear, and then about 6 hours ago I had an ornithopter with a full cargo of gear, items, really expensive rare items, all just disappear. Searched everywhere, but I know for a fact now that they've just gone. And so I think I think now I'm going to say my time with this game for now is done. And it's a real shame it ended on a bad note, but I have to mention these things because this at the moment is a real issue for Funcom and they need to fix it ASAP. So I'm just coming to the end of my review, I think. I just wanted to mention quickly the combat, as it got quite a lot of coverage in the alphas and betas. The combat is actually better than I thought it was going to be, because, yeah, the melee combat is a bit janky and a bit stiff, but the range combat is pretty good actually. I quite enjoyed it. You got a lot of the weapons from the films. You got the drill shot. In terms of like attacking people with shields, you've got to like do like a slow attack to get through the shields. They've done all that really well, so I'm very impressed. You have got like 5 classes at the start of the game. Well, 4 really, because the planetologist is not really a combat class. But you start off with 1 class, and then you can find others through the game and add skills from their disciplines. So that's pretty cool. You can mix and match as you go along, and you can reset your skills, I think, every 2 hours. So there's no pressure to kind of get it right first time. So that's pretty cool. Another thing that surprised me actually was the enemy AI. It's not groundbreaking, but it's also pretty decent. Like, you will get enemies moving around objects to get a better shot at you, or sometimes you'll injure an enemy and they'll run away, hide behind cover and try and heal themselves, which for an MMO that's pretty advanced. And yeah, I enjoy the combat for the most part. My only big criticism really is the enemy variety. You basically fighting almost the same enemy from the start to finish. Now you get a few variations. You'll get enemies that do like an extra attack. About quarter of the way, and you get enemies with like a minigun that will do like lots of range damage. But for the most part, they are just humanoid enemies, and I think that's a real shame because it does feel very samey all the way through. Now there are, well, from the research I've done, there are quite a lot of creatures they could have included. Now most of them have been imported from the Harkonnens, like the D-wolves and all the rest of the creatures. And there are also some indigenous creatures like the centipedes, the trapdoor spiders. I really think they should have included some of them to give it a bit of variety, because at the moment I would say that this is one of the major downsides of the game is enemy variety. I felt like I was fighting the same enemy like from the start to finish. So yeah, that's definitely a downside to it. And I think that's the end of my review, guys. I can't recommend the game at the moment until they fix the item bug. That's, to me, is a red line, and I can't recommend it past that. Assuming they fix the item bug at the moment, then I can still recommend it if you are aware there is very little endgame apart from the PvP. Now, if you're like me and you like PvE and PvP, then that is definitely a reason to play the game. The game itself, from the start to the end game, is exceptional. I love it. I think they've done a really good job, and I hope they carry on expanding this world and making new content that kind of like fleshes it out, because they've got such a strong foundation here that it would be a real shame to lose it. They've put so much effort and time into the details of the game. The graphics look amazing. The lighting is incredible. There's so many areas of the game where you can tell they've taken a lot of time to look at the lore and the base content and put it into the game. So overall, I'm very impressed with this game. It's just a shame that the end game is such a disappointment. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Thank you for staying with me so long in this review. It's a long review, as is, it was going to be, because it's an MMO. There's just so many things I have to cover. I've still missed a few things, but yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up there. Thanks for stopping by. Please leave a like and subscribe if you can. Now I'm done with Dune Awakening. I will have a lot more time in the next couple of weeks, so please expect some more rapid fire reviews, and I will see you then. Alright guys, take care. Bye bye.